Hello, beautiful souls. Sagittarius season is here. And if you want to learn how to make art like a Sagittarius, or you just want to add a little bit of that Saggy energy into your creative practice, then stay tuned for this video. If you're not already following me over at awaken.creators on Instagram, you should, because we're bringing you a ton of spiritually minded creative content to help you move through your blocks so you can restore your creative truth, reclaim your joy, and start changing this world. So today's talk, we're going to talk all about how to make art like a Sagittarius. This is part of our Embodied Astrology for Creatives series. And the purpose of this series is to help you get a feel for various energies during the year as the sun moves through these different signs, but also to take those greater lessons that that particular archetype holds and infuse that energy into your creative practice. This is a really powerful opportunity for creatives to kind of come full circle and really express themselves in the fullest, most complete expression possible. So if you are a Sagittarius, if you are a Gemini, Sagittarius opposite sign, or just any sign whatsoever, you have Sagittarius energy somewhere in your chart. And so for you to truly embody the fullness of your creative expression, it's helpful for you to understand and know how to express the different archetypal energies in the most balanced and uplifting ways. So I'm going to bring you 4 tips and ways that you can truly embody Sagittarian energy as a creative and through your art, through your creative process. So one of the first things that I think about when I talk about Sagittarius energy is expansion. Sagittarius is a sign that's ruled by the planet Jupiter, which is the biggest planet in our solar system. It is a sign archetype associated with beliefs and mythos and travel, and all of these things have in common this like expansive energy. So a way for you to create art within that embodied Sagittarian energy, I really would encourage you to expand your horizons. And what this might look like as a creative is that you explore various cultures' ways of creating. If you're a culinary artist, maybe you begin to study a particular ethnic cuisine. If you are a visual artist, perhaps you explore the museum of a culture that is not your the culture you were born into, and look at their art and the way they create, and just allow that experience of understanding someone else who's different from you to really feed and nurture your own creative practice. This is really going to, I think, inspire you beyond what you're used to creating, because it's going to get you expanding your understanding that the world is much grander than perhaps you once thought it was, and that there are far more ways to create and be creative than you thought possible, which in turn might make that crazy idea you have in the back of your head not seem so crazy after all. So during this Sagittarius season, then, just as a way to embody making art as a Sagittarius, would be to expand your understanding of what creativity looks like, what art making looks like from the perspective of somebody totally different than you. So that would be the first way I would recommend you start making art like a Sagittarius. The other way I would recommend that you make art like a Sagittarius is to tell stories through your art, to ensure that your creation is not just a superficial thing to enjoy, but that it actually takes the viewer on some kind of journey. And now this doesn't mean that you need to be, telling epic tales with your art making. Say you're a graphic artist, for example, and you do very punchy, simple shapes and things like that. Well, how do I tell a story with that? Maybe there are shapes indicative of certain objects. Since we're kind of in the autumn right now, I'm just going to use this as reference, that evoke autumn or fall feelings. So that alone will tell a story. Maybe a little wisp over here is like steam coming off of a cup, and maybe this shape over here sort of reminds you of a scarf or a leaf. You're telling a story with your art rather than just, putting out whatever. Which there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying, in order for you to maybe evoke more of a Sagittarian energy, is to try to tell a story. And not only try to tell a story, but try to create art that tells your story, which will lead me into my next one. But when you are not shy about telling your story as a creative artist, the journey that you've been through, the way you've seen the world, how your eyes have viewed it, that kind of honesty and vulnerability in telling your story as a creative through your art is not only going to be liberating for you as a creative, but it's also going to give others the opportunity to learn from you and to liberate themselves if they've experienced a similar style of stories. So, for example, if you had the experience of moving a lot when you were a young child and constantly being uprooted all the time, by telling stories about those uncomfortable experiences of always being the new kid, or always, having to start over again, whether that's through visual expression or a film you're making or a story you're writing, being able to share that honesty, emotional honesty, and that vulnerability is not only going to help you use your art to heal yourself, basically, and come to terms with and own your story, but it's also going to help anybody who's dealt with a similar situation to own their story as well. So creating art like a Sagittarius is a way of using your lived experience as a gift for sharing with other people what your experience has been like in this human form. Which leads me to my next point, which, if you really want to create like a Sagittarius, you need to accept your wisdom. What do I mean by that? I mean that you want to accept that you have already, at this point, obtained and gathered wisdom that you can share, lived experience that you can share through your art with other people, so that they can connect to those parts of themselves as well. It's often that as creatives, we feel like we don't know anything until we reach some kind of arbitrary level of success, but that's not true. You're constantly learning. Even though you're not quite where you are, all of those experiences, and especially the ones that you think were failures, all of those experiences that you've had have taught you something. Whether they taught you something about a practical skill or a way of doing something artistically that doesn't work for you, or they taught you something more on a emotional or psychological level in terms of understanding yourself or understanding life itself, like a lesson of life or a philosophy of life, which is also very Sagittarian to have, a philosophy of life. All of these things that you've gone through and experienced are feeding into your capacity to hold wisdom. And when you own that, when you really own and allow yourself to accept that you have wisdom already, even if you're not where you want to be, even if you don't feel like you have anything of value to say, a Sagittarius energy would question that and would say, no, actually, I've lived through some stuff and I have a story to tell and I have learned some things along the way. And by infusing those lessons and that wisdom into your art, you can create an amazing impact on the people who view your work and experience your art with you, because they're really going to be able to feel that conveyed through the work that you put out. And so along those lines, I will also say that when you're thinking about your legacy as an artist or where you're going with all of this, where your creativity is leading you, usually we'll have a destination in mind of some level of success that we want to achieve. And to create art like a Sagittarius and to really live the creative life as a Sagittarius, your impetus is to go for it. Your destiny is simply the destination that you aim your arrow, your heart arrow, aligned to your heart, and you go from there. Okay? So this is what I want you to remember. The next time you see the symbol of Sagittarius, the arrow, or you see the Centaurian archer, look at the way that they are holding the bow to their heart, directing their energy, eyes on the prize. That's where I'm going. That's my destination. That is my truth, and I'm going for it. Sagittarius is a fire sign. It is not going to wait for permission. It is not necessarily going to wait for all the pieces to be gathered or information to be obtained. It is going to burst into action and move forward with its will towards its destination. And here's the catch, right? Some folks might say, well, that's the fault of Sagittarius, that it's so fleeting and just, goes after things and then fizzles out, right? It can feel maybe like a promiscuous energy that's not well thought through. But here's the deal. Sagittarius energy is gifting us with the wisdom to experience life, to not necessarily overthink everything, to not try to predict what's going to happen, but to go for it, to live it, and then through the living of it, you will gain that wisdom and you will know what your truth truly is. So rather than, like its opposite sign of Gemini, intellectualizing everything or trying to understand it from that intellectual level, Sagittarius is like, well, I want to understand all the world too. I'm curious as well, but I want to know it from a lived experience. I want to know it from doing it. And so for you to truly embody and make art like a Sagittarius, you need to just do it. You need to just go for it. You need to just try it. You need to just see where it leads. Follow the breadcrumb trail. Set your sight on your destination and go full throttle. And if you need to change course along the way, you change course along the way. Like, it's not a big deal. It doesn't have to be catastrophized into this huge life-shattering thing. It's just that you tried it, you found out you didn't like it, and now you're moving on to the next thing, right? And all along the way, you're learning about yourself. And that learning process, that learning by doing, is very, very Sagittarius. So there's a lot of opportunity here in making art like a Sagittarius, to learn, to grow, to expand, to experience life, to obtain wisdom through living as a being on this planet and experiencing life, and learning from other people who have done the same. So stay curious, right? But don't get stuck curious in the mind. Move it into the physicality, into that passionate fire, and do it. Try it. Experiment with it. Give it a go and see what you think. If you, again, want to reroute, you can do that. There's no pressure with Sagittarius energy. You're not locked in. It's not, like a hard Capricornian energy. It is light. I feel like the lightest of the fire signs. It's just like, let's just try, let's just see, let's experience, let's go there, let's do that, let's travel, let's learn, let's expand what we think we know. And in doing that, gain a lot of wisdom along the way, and then share that wisdom, share those stories, share that experience with others from a place of non-judgment, from a place of just openness and connection, and wanting and desiring to connect with other people and learn from them too. So I hope that this guide to how to make art like a Sagittarius helps you on your creative journey. Maybe you are already noticing that you are creating like a Sagittarius right now. If you are a Sagittarius, or have Sagittarius rising or Sagittarius moon placement, or I would even say a Venus, because Venus is a very creative planet. If your Venus is in Sagittarius, you may also resonate deeply with these messages. So pull up your natal chart, take a look, and see where Sagittarius is in your chart and how it's influencing your creative journey. And on that note, I will let you know that I am in the process of creating a super fun masterclass about identifying the creativity markers in your natal chart. If that sounds like something that you'd be interested in, if you love astrology and creativity as much as I do, and you want to jumble it all together and see what you get and see if you can learn more about yourself, because Sagittarius is all about learning, right? You want to explore, you want to learn more. If that interests you, drop me a comment below, let me know, and I'll be sure to let you know when that masterclass gets up and running. I'm still in the process of doing lots and lots of research to make sure that it is top quality for you and your investment of time. So with that, again, I will just say, join us over on Instagram at Awakened Dawn Creators. We're bringing you content like this every single week. I think you'll really enjoy it. And if you didn't watch the How to Make Art Like a Scorpio video, you might want to check that out as well. If you are a Sagittarius and you have some wisdom you want to drop on us, also leave that in the comments below. And otherwise, I love you. Thank you to those of you who donate. It helps much more than you believe. It's very, very helpful to me. No obligation, but if you would like to buy me a coffee, you certainly can, and the link is in the description box below. And yeah, I thank you so much for watching, and I love you. Be sure to follow, like, and subscribe, and share with your friends who love astrology as well. Take care. Bye-bye.